Hi, a film I watched last weekend was Steve McQueen's Blitz, released exclusively on Apple TV Plus. It's a story written by himself and set during 1940 in London, with the East End being battered by the Luftwaffe and the Blitz itself ongoing and seeing a daily toll of hundreds of lives. But all is not lost because children are being evacuated to the countryside, where they will be able to shelter in safety with kind and receptive families. One such young boy is young George, the mixed-race son of a factory worker played by Saoirse Ronan. He's sent off um, to the railway station, gets on the train, but he tells his mother that he hates her and ignores her after he gets on the carriage. He refuses to go to his new home and manages to actually leap off the train on the way, making his way back to the city. As his mother endures the terrible events going on in the Blitz, discovers that her son is missing, and enlists the help of a kindly firefighter and her father to track him down. I thought this was a superb film. I was tremendously impressed by the vivid reality of the story. It felt very much of a piece with Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk in not being a story in the traditional sense, although Dunkirk is much more fractured. This has these two parallel stories of George travelling back through London, meeting various characters and various situations that arose from the absolute atrocity of what was happening on the home front. And um, Rita's search for her son, and again, seeing all these different aspects of London, aspects of the war, the air raid wardens, looters, the way the police had to deal with situations, particularly the way people would shelter in tube stations from the bombing. It all paints a very complete, very vivid, very human picture of the extraordinary and horrific toll this was taking on people. Um, there are two extraordinary performances at the centre. Elliott Heffernan as George is a superb young actor, very, very talented. Saoirse Ronan is Saoirse Ronan. She's one of the greatest living actresses. She's fantastic in everything. She perfectly masters an East End accent. She sings. She's brilliant. She's always brilliant. It should go without saying at this point. But the film is, I think, particularly focused on looking at those elements of society of the time that have been ignored in previous film depictions. Steve McQueen is, of course, a British black man. So he has that particular insight into the British character, but also seeing it from that slight outsider's perspective. So portraying a London that was in many ways racially integrated, but there was nevertheless a great deal of tension. The notion of George being mixed race is readily accepted by his family. His grandfather, played somewhat oddly by Paul Weller, loves and adores him, teaches him songs on the piano. He's bullied by other children, however. There is the inference that George's father is either in prison or dead as a result of an altercation with white racists. Um, and George even meets a black air raid warden who has an African accent, a Nigerian name, and is respected by his peers. So there is a great deal of tension there between the romanticized depiction of the Blitz spirit and the harsh, horrifying reality. It's a very intelligent, emotional film, brilliantly modulated, brilliantly produced. Um, I have been a little skeptical of some of McQueen's work in the past. I thought Hunger was brilliant, if maybe a little problematic in its attitudes towards the Northern Irish terrorists, although discussion there is possible for today. I was less enamoured by 12 Years a Slave, although I think that was a story that was absolutely worth telling. I think this is a much more timely film to puncture the idea of the Blitz spirit by showing the racism and the greed that underlied it. Yes, there were people doing great, noble, courageous things and saving lives, but that wasn't the whole story. And the film's determination to tell the truth of what that world was like, a world of children being suddenly killed, a world of bodies being looted for their valuables. I think that is very much a story worth telling, and McQueen tells it brilliantly, helped by a superb cast and impeccable production. It's an excellent film. I think it could well be my movie of the year. It is superb.